All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 236 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host today, Julian Gill, admin on the FAQ message board. I'm joined today by Marcus Almighty, Mark.
Greetings.
69th Blizzard, Ken.
Hello.
And St. Louis Kiss, Lonnie.
What's up?
Thank you guys for joining me, and I'm sure you will join me in wishing Alex and his lovely wife the very best of happiness on the birth of their first child this past weekend. So congratulations to you both. I hope you have all the joy and fun experiences that parenthood offers that I've had to enjoy. Flying poop was my favorite. I was changing the diaper and explosions and paintings on the wall. Paul Stanley would have approved of the pattern. So there we go.
Nice.
All right. No new Kiss products this week, I don't think. Tour is just continuing. Set list changed ever so slightly and is kind of stuck there. We've just posted a updated kind of track of where the tour is at in terms of box scores, because a bunch of them did get adjusted and changed from 96% to sellouts. So that's up on the board if you're interested in following that stuff. Other than that, nothing else is going on. So we're about a few days away from the anniversary of Dress to Kill. So we're going to dig into this album and do a happy birthday Dress to Kill episode like we did with the first album last month, and kind of go through some metrics about the album and see what everyone thinks about this one. For me personally, it's always been a sister album to Crazy Nights. So I'm going to leave that there and come back to that comment later. Mark, since you're throwing things around in front of your lovely powered video camera, what are your first memories of obtaining Dress to Kill?
Well, Dress to Kill actually was probably one of the last albums I actually got out of all the Kiss records. Mainly because a lot of my friends had it, and they it was played a lot in other people's cars and stuff like that. And, we didn't, I didn't see a need to really go run out and grab it because I always had somebody else, who was playing it. And I liked it. I thought that it was a vast improvement over Hotter Than Hell, like production and sonically. But yeah, it was the one thing that struck me right away with it was just how short it was. And especially when you get the vinyl version of it later, you figure out how big the gaps are in between the songs. You're like, what's going on? Is there another song there? And then all of a sudden another one will start up. It's like pretty big gaps in between songs for the vinyl. But, it's like a 30-minute record. That's it,
Yeah, and that's pushing it as well. Ken, how about you? Where did it fall into your kind of orbit as a young Kiss fan?
Yeah, I think I remember getting it for 70. I think it was Christmas of 78, I want to say, that I got it. I think it was Christmas. It's one of the ones that I probably put on my Christmas list after I got, Live 2 and also the, double platinum. I thought, rock and roll all night is, that's a pretty good song. So that was one of the earlier ones that I would get. So I did get it at that time, and I remember enjoying it. It was kind of weird, waiting for all those songs, going through all the songs just to get to Rock and Roll All Night at the beginning. But I started liking the album a lot more when I listened to it a few times.
Lonnie.
I want to say I got it 95, late 95, early 96, somewhere in that neighborhood. I had double platinum and I had a live, so I had songs off of it, so it wasn't a priority in my early stages of fandom. And here's an interesting thing. Because I had double platinum, I was surprised. It had I take it back. It had to have been earlier 95. It was before MTV Unplugged. It was before I saw MTV Unplugged because they did Rock Bottom on MTV Unplugged. Because when I bought it, I was surprised that intro was in front of Rock Bottom and not She, because the first time I had heard that intro was in front of She on double platinum. So, and I remember watching MTV Unplugged, and I wasn't like, why are they doing this? It's supposed to be on She. So it had to have been prior to Halloween night of 1995 when I watched MTV Unplugged. So sometime 94, 95, that neighborhood, I guess. Because, I had double platinum. I had Alive. So I had the hits off the album. I had Come On and Love Me. I had Rock and Roll Night. I had She. So, but it's around in there, but, fantastic record, but we'll get into it. So 94, 95, 14 or 15 years old.
Yeah, you've pretty much summed up how I got, the album into my orbit, and that was obviously Alive and Double Platinum were the big bang for buck albums that I bought early on, and then I went back, and it was usually what cover was cool, and, Rock and Roll Over I know was cool, and that came quickly. Love Gun, and then probably the first album. Then I don't really remember. So it was sometime after those, so it was late into the catalog. I don't remember being particularly affected by the move of the Rock Bottom intro like you were, but I think there was more a difference in the mix, the sound of the album to me.
Yeah, it's almost silent on double platinum.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. So that's all I remembered it. Last month when we talked about the first Kiss album, we talked about how the reviews weren't as negative as, legend has it, that Kiss was hated. Now, I just want to read a bit of Rolling Stone's review of Dress to Kill from July 1975. And it's... Kiss does not play music. It makes very high-volume noise. If rock and roll intrigues you, though, you'd best be advised that for all the simplicity, overstatement, and repetition within its records, Kiss does make fantastically successful rock. Driven by Gene Simmons' remarkably inventive bass lines and the cacophonous poundings of drummer Peter Criss, Kiss makes Chuck Berry chords and basic rock progressions come alive with energetic urgency. Simple, yes. Repetitive, yes sir, but like the Stooges, Kiss manages to avoid monotony. That's a fucking excellent review. I mean,
pretty good.
Come on, you've just been compared to, you've had Chuck Berry and the Stooges name dropped in you. You've been called successful, cacophonous poundings of Peter Criss, inventive bass lines for Gene, but not mentioning what Kiss is really about, guitars, other than loud. I guess it really hits the nail on the head. So even still in 1975 in Rolling Stone, Kiss was getting positive press, which is very surprising if you take the history that we've been spoon-fed. Let's talk about the singles. Rock and Roll All Night was the first single. It came out in March 1975, became their first minor hit. I think it hit 68 on the U.S. charts, which is nothing spectacular. It was followed up by Come On Love Me in July. Both of them were backed by Getaway. Were these the right picks and orders as far as you're concerned, or would you have chosen differently for the singles releases from the album? Ken, start with you on this.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and I think it's the right choice. Definitely, Rock and Roll All Night is such a catchy tune, anthem type song that he had to release it. I can't see much anything else being released before that. I mean, Come On and Love Me is a very good song, which I like it. It's probably the other top song on the album. But I just think more people would gravitate to Rock and Roll All Night before that song. So I think it's right. And, putting Getaway on the back of both of those, I don't know. When you put the same song on the backside of two singles, It's kind of telling you that they think it's not single worthy or it's trash, or they think there's going to be a lot more singles to come off the album, which that wasn't going to happen. So I just think Getaway should probably have been on one single backside and then some other song on the B-side of the other one.
I just noticed that my Audacity is still recording from when I was doing tape transfers earlier. Excuse me. Just killed it right now. It won't be killing our bandwidth. Lonnie, what about you in terms of singles? I mean, I think by saying that it was trash, Getaway, being put on both singles, what does it mean for Nothing to Lose?
I'm saying album? They think it's trash. I don't think it's trash. I actually like the song a lot.
No, yeah, and you know, did they think that Nothing to Lose was, or what was it that was the B-side on two singles?
Beth?
No,
that was one
off the first album. There were two.
Oh yeah. Oh, the first album.
Yeah.
Can't remember now.
Whatever. All right, Lonnie, what are your thoughts on the singles?
As far as two singles go, I don't think you could have gotten it any better. I think they're the best two songs on the album. Like Ken said, say what you want, hardcore Kiss fans, say what you want about Rock and Roll All Night. Maybe you're tired of hearing it, but it is a catchy song. And at one point in your Kiss fandom, you probably loved the song as much as you may be tired of hearing it now. At one point in your Kiss fandom, you probably thought it was great, and it meant a lot to you at one point. And Come On and Love Me is one of my favorite Kiss songs. It would probably be my top 5 Kiss songs of all time. It's so catchy and so great, top to bottom. So I think they couldn't have gotten it any better as far as the two singles go. As far as Getaway goes, it's weird having Getaway being the B-side on both of them, but I don't know. I might have put Room Service or Two Timer on there because they probably weren't going to release them as singles. But I would have liked to seen another song get a little love on as a B-side, or anything from My Baby or Lover Like Can. I love those two songs. So it would have been nice to see another song on the album get a little love, because I don't know, because Ken said, well, maybe let's just trash it by just putting Getaway on there, but maybe you could look at it from another perspective, thinking that, well, maybe there's no other songs worthy of putting out there as a single or even a B-side too. And I think there's a lot of great songs on Dressed to Kill. So I would have liked to put something else out there as a B-side.
All right, Mark, what's your take on these singles?
Well, I think that the singles were correct as far as which ones to pick, but I think I would have flip-flopped them. I think I would have probably put Come On Love Me out first, and then I would have probably put Rock and Roll Night out after. Something about Come On Love Me, I think, is slightly more radio friendly to me than the other one. I mean, they're both great songs. Don't get me wrong, right? But I mean, I think that from just what I was used to hearing on the radio, I just thought that maybe that would have been a better pick. I agree about the fact that they should have probably picked another B-side for one of the two. Like, throw a Gene song for one of them, like maybe, I don't know, Ladies in Waiting or something, but just something different for the B-side on one of them, because, I mean, I like Getaway as well, so I don't have really any issue with it being on both of them, but I think I just would have flip-flopped them. There's no doubt that those are the two best songs for singles off that record, no matter what. So, but it's not my favorite song. We'll get to that later.
Absolutely, and I kind of agree with Ken that they make sense, the songs as they were, released. I can't even go into any revisionist kind of mind frame and say, well, they should have, even just flipped them around. Rock and Roll All Night as an anthem, that was what they were looking for. That was the whole idea of recording the album fast and doing that sort of song. So it makes sense that they led with it. I just want to read a couple of reviews here for these, and these are both out of Cashbox. And Rock and Roll All Night got reviewed in their April 19th edition, and its pounding drums and ferocious guitar roar open the song from the group's latest album. The undulating beat and anthem-like quality of the chorus add up to a satanic hit from the onstage masters of fright rock. A monster of a song is destined for top 40 acceptance. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Satanic rock.
Satanic and ferocious. And I mean, you listen to the limp ass production of, the anthem, and you're like, which version is he listening to?
Right.
And then they followed up with a review of Come On and Love Me. Neil, what have you created? A monster with ingenious lyrics written from the sleazier side of being a rock star. Paul Stanley has written a blazing, high-energy rocker that illustrates why this group enjoys the fanatic, dedicated coterie it does. You will play it. You will enjoy it.
Wow.
Said with a German accent, apparently. So, those are Cashbox, so, take them for what they are. They're not exactly written by actual critics, because it's a trade rag. But still, I love the effort that went into writing all that. And I agree. I mean, Come On and Love Me is definitely in my top 10 of Kiss songs. Always has been. I've loved it since day one, and it's one of 2 Kiss songs that I seem to recall were the first 2 I tried to learn to play on guitar way, 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 way back when. Both of them from this album. So, it's surprisingly good choice of songs. And Come On and Love Me didn't chart, and Rock and Roll All Night barely charted, if you figure. So, not bad stuff, but probably the right way to go about promoting the album for a record label that was still struggling. All right, next question. How well do you think the track order of the album works? And if you'd been in charge of it, would you have sequenced it differently? Mark, you're nodding enthusiastically, so we'll go straight to you.
Yeah, well, I did my homework research all afternoon on this, so I think I would have probably switched a few things around on it. I don't think it's a terrible track order by any stretch of the imagination, but I think I would have flipped a few things. Like for side A, I put Room Service to start. I think it's a great opener. I've always loved that song. I put Ladies in Waiting second, and then I put Anything for My Baby after that third. I pushed Two Timer down as fourth and kept Rock Bottom as the ending of side A. Then on side B, I left it with Come On and Love Me to start, but then I put Getaway as the next song, and then I moved Rock and Roll All Night up to number 3 in the middle spot, bring it up more. I thought leaving Rock and Roll All Night at the end was kind of doing a disservice to it. I think it deserves better position than that. And then I put Love Her All I Can fourth and ended the album with She. I thought it's kind of the, slow prodding song, and just leave that one kind of at the end to kind of close it off.
Nice. Good logic as well. I mean, for me, I found it very difficult to resequence this. I was actually listening to it a fair amount and trying it in different orders, and nothing felt right. I just couldn't come around to anything that worked after, listening to it for decades. So I kind of gave up and just cop out. I'm going to say that I'm going to switch Room Service and Rock and Roll All Night to have Rock and Roll All Night as the lead off of side A, and Come On and Love Me remains the lead off to side B, the singles. And that's just a really wimpy excuse for doing absolutely nothing to this album. So Ken, how about you? Did you resequence it or have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if I needed to, but I did resequence it. I didn't listen to it. I did listen to it back after I did that, but this is how I did it. And my thinking was with the Rock and Roll All Night. I thought that was a better starting song for the whole album, so I moved it from the end of the album to the beginning, where the drums are coming in. It kicks in, and then it kicks into the chords and everything, and I thought it would be a great beginning actually for an album. I mean, usually they like the singles early on an album side, whether it's side 1 or side 2. So I just thought this is going to be a great start off, and it's going to just get the person, rocking right at the beginning. So number 2, I put Come On and Love Me as number 2. I put it from side 2, in the first song, side 2 to number 2 in the order. I just thought it's going to be a single. It's got to be pretty early. I think it's a good song to follow up Rock and Roll All Night. just like the singles coming out, you know. Then I went to Two Timer as number 3 song. I put Lover All I Can as number 4. I put She as number 5 to end that first side out.
That's a good choice. I like that, closing out the side A. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Room Service, I actually start the side 2 instead of side 1, so I moved it to side 2. And then followed by Getaway. And then 8, Ladies in Waiting. 9, Anything for My Baby. And I ended with Rock Bottom at the end.
Nice.
The album.
Interesting.
With the, you know, where you have the, towards the end, you have more of the, distortion usually on the vinyl albums, you know, back then. So I figured that at least the slow part or the acoustic part, which is called George, I from what I understand, would fit there. But even though Rock Bottom, you know, rocks out at the end, but whatever. Yeah, that's my order.
Cool. Lonnie, have you completed yours? You're still on mute, though.
Hello again, everybody. I have. Well, while I don't have a problem with the track listing, it's something I've listened to for more than half my life. I don't have it is Dressed to Kill, and I really don't have a problem with it. But if I was gonna rearrange it, I thought it'd be fun to have Rock Bottom lead off the album in the vein of Rock and Roll Over, where it starts off slow and then you go right into it after that. I thought that'd be fun. So I did Rock Bottom, and then Two Timer, and still in the second hole, and then Come On and Love Me, Getaway, and closing out the first side with Ladies in Waiting. And then I started the second side with Rock and Roll All Night because it was a single, and they had every intention of making it a single. So like Ken said, it was a big thing to have your lead track on side A or side B be one of your main tracks or your singles off the album. So Rock and Roll All Night, Anything for My Baby, Lover All I Can, Room Service, and then close out the album, like Mark said, with She. I think that's a cool way to close it out. And they had a cool way of closing out albums at the time with Black Diamond, with Strange Ways, and on this it was Rock and Roll All Night. So kind of keep it in that vein. I thought She'd be a cool way to close it out.
Great. I'm glad some of you gave way more thought to it than I did. Felt like a lazy suck. All right, let's do the KissFAQ panel ranking of the Dressed to Kill album. And of course, we're stealing this methodology from our friends Greg and Steve at lipstickgeneration.com. This is how they approach doing many of their podcast episodes, and each song is given a score for its position from least favorite to most favorite. So your top song will get 10 points, your least favorite gets 1, since there are 10 songs on this album. And then we'll add them all up and figure out what the FAQ panels is. So from your least favorite to your most favorite, and you're going to have to go slowly because I'm going to try and do this real time and screw it all up. All right, let's go. Mark, start with you.
So we want to go through all 10 or just the number 10 one first?
Yeah, go volcano it.
Okay, so my number 10 least favorite song on the album is Two Timer, followed by number 9, which is She, followed by number 8, which is Anything for My Baby, followed by number 7, which is Rock Bottom, followed by number 6, which is Lover All I Can Be. And then we got number 5, which is I Gotta Get Away, Get Away. And then we got number 4, which is Ladies in Waiting. Dun, dun, ladies. Then we got number 3, which is I Wanna Rock and Roll All Night. That's number 3. Number 2 is Come On and Love Me. Dun, 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 dun. And my number one song is Room Service.
Wow.
All right, so let me read that back from least favorite to most favorite. Two-timer, She, Anything for My Baby, Rock Bottom, Love Her All I Can, Getaway, Ladies in Waiting, Rock and Roll All Night, Come On and Love Me, and Room Service.
Correct.
All right. I while doing that, discovered that I only have 9 songs in my list, so I'm obviously a complete moron. Okay, Lonnie, let's go to you. You're 10, please.
So am I going from least to best? What am I doing?
Yeah, worst to best.
Worst to best. I'm going to start with Getaway, then Ladies in Waiting. Number 3 is Two-Timer, and then Room Service. Sorry, Mark. And followed by Rock Bottom, She, then Rock and Roll All Night, Love Her All I Can, Anything for My Baby, and my favorite song off the album is Come On and Love Me.
Nice. All right. I'm gonna have to pause when we get to my turn because I have no idea. I'm lost.
Whatever song you miss has to be your least favorite off the album because you can't even remember.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. All right, Ken. How about you?
All right. My least favorite ranking on this is Anything for My Baby. Number 9. Number 8.
Wait, what was number 9?
What was number 9?
Room Service.
Okay, you blipped out.
You crackled.
Oh, sorry. And so you got 8 is Getaway. 7 is Two-Timer. 6 is Ladies in Waiting. 5 is Rock Bottom. 4 is Love Her All I Can. 3 is She. 2 is Come On and Love Me. And number 1 is Rock and Roll All Night.
Wow, you're a sheep. Rock and Roll All Night.
I'm giving credit is due.
Bah.
No love for Room Service there. What's going on?
All right, so I'll be turning the topics over to you guys to talk about while I do the math after I read mine, because I cannot chew bubblegum and walk. I will fall over. All right, from least favorite, let me just recap Ken's. They were Anything for My Baby, Room Service, Getaway, Two-Timer, Ladies in Waiting, Rock Bottom, Love Her All I Can, She, Come On and Love Me, and Rock and Roll All Night. So he gets the gold star from the teacher for choosing Rock and Roll All Night as number 1. Me, I did not. My least favorite, Ladies in Waiting, followed by Anything for My Baby, Two-Timer, She, Getaway, Rock and Roll All Night as number 5, Room Service, Rock Bottom, Come On and Love Me, and my favorite, that great Raspberry song, Love Her All I Can.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Love Her All I Can.
Mark, why
Yes.
that order? Why is Room Service and Come On and Love Me your favorites, and She and Two-Timer your least favorites?
Well, Room Service has always been the song that caught me from this record right from the very beginning. I mean, the very first time I heard that song, I thought it was a fantastic way to start. It's very upbeat. One of Paul Stanley's more kind of energetic vocal on record. I mean, sure, he's great on every album, but I really liked it. It had a lot of appeal, and you can imagine when you're like a 16-year-old him talking about getting some room service. It's like it's the coolest thing ever, right? And then Come On and Love Me has always been a very catchy song. I've said that from the beginning. I have always thought that it was a well-written song, and the fact that it's a solely Paul Stanley credited song is impressive, because I think that it just shows how good of a songwriter Paul Stanley was even back then. I mean, some of the songs that they wrote back then, there were some joint writing credits with him and Gene, like for Rock and Roll All Night and stuff like that. So it's very cool to see Paul write such a strong song early on in his career. As far as Two Timer and She goes, I don't dislike She. I thought She is excellent on Alive. I think it's one of my favorite versions of that song is on that album. But I think it's kind of a bit plodding on this version on the record. I just don't think it has the same razzmatazz as it does on Alive. And Two Timer, I just think is one of those, like, we need another song, Gene. What do you have in your pile of, half completed songs kind of thing? So I think they kind of just grabbed that one and put it on there. Whereas the funny thing is, while I think Two Timer is kind of terrible, I actually like Ladies in Waiting. I've always thought it was kind of a pretty good Gene song, actually. So it's interesting how they put those back to back on the record, though. One kind of, a snoozer, and the other one's kind of a lot better. You know what I mean? So I've always thought that was a interesting combination. But, and I think I've also, at that point, to be quite honest, is that I kind of also discovered the Wicked Lester album around that same time when I started getting into this. And when I discovered the Wicked Lester version of She, I was like horrified by the flutes and all that on there. So I think that also scarred me a bit to this song as well. So, I'd never really ranked high the studio version. But like I said, the live version on Alive gets the double thumbs up from me.
Ken, how about you and your top choices? Obviously, you're the singles, and your bottom two choices are Room Service and Anything for My Baby. Why those?
Room Service? I'd say Room Service was my least favorite.
You were number 9 with Room Service.
Okay. You're right. I don't know. Room Service, always thought was kind of, it was a good song. But maybe I got tired of it, hearing it as the lead off to the album. And so I just wanted to push it down the list. But it's a good song. I have nothing against it. I like the whole album. So the only reason I changed some of the order is to, like Mark was kind of saying, putting 2 Gene songs back to back, that usually doesn't happen on an album. So I tried to, move things around in that fashion too, other than trying to put the singles up front. So, there's no super science to it, just what I thought might work.
What about your top picks?
Like Rock and Roll Night? And
like why you picked those ones?
Those are just, those were my favorite songs. That's the way I listed it. Those are my 2 favorites. I just think they're great songs. So even though
you honestly think they're the strongest ones? Do you think they're honestly the strongest ones? You think, or?
Oh yeah, Come On and Love Me, and I think Rock and Roll Night is a very strong song. If I hadn't heard it a million times, because when I first heard it, the first time I heard that song, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And, I wanted to listen to it over and over again. Now, the only thing missing about it is, the guitar solo in Rock and Roll Night. That's the only drawback of that song. That's why they got it right on Alive, where they, have a guitar solo. Like you said, though, on She, for instance, that is kind of plotting. Everything, again, on Alive seemed to get better, be a better version than what was on the albums. Going back to when we talked about the first album, same thing. Firehouse plotted or whatever. Mm-hmm. It got much better, as a live song. So what about Lonnie?
So my top 2 were Anything for My Baby and Come On and Love Me. 2 of the, Neil Bogart catchy bubblegum songs on the album, if you will. My number 8 pick was Love Her All I Can. Again, another catchy song as well. It's like even my top 3 picks are very just catchy songs that kind of stay in your head. And that's what I like. That's what sticks with you, is a song that you can't get out of your head. Those are great examples of those. And my bottom 2 are Getaway and Ladies in Waiting, 2 songs that maybe aren't that catchy as opposed to those. So that's really how I ranked them. Songs that I that I like, and songs that stick with me, and the top ones do, and maybe the bottom ones, not so much.
So, well, with that said, are you surprised then that they didn't use some of those as singles, like Anything for My Baby?
I am surprised, and I love Lover All I Can. I'm with Julian. I actually, looking at him with Julian, I probably should have swapped Anything from Baby and Lover All I Can, and made Lover All I Can my second favorite as opposed to Anything for My Baby. And I don't know, they're like 1 and 1A to me. I really like both of them. They're both, and I am when I look at it, if I was going to choose a third single on it, I would have chose one of those two songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe that Bogart might have done the same thing if they were going to have a third single off it, that he would have chosen a catchy, radio friendly type song, because that's who he was. I think if there was a third single on it, it would have been one of those two. Am I surprised or not? No, because Rock and Roll Night and Come On and Love Me are great. And, like I said earlier, say what you want about Rock and Roll Night, if it's overplayed, blah, blah. It is a great song, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and at one point,
most normal people don't go to hundreds of concerts, have thousands of bootlegs, and listen to the catalog. It's just not healthy to listen to songs that much, and it's
we are in the minority.
Yeah, that we're a little bit tired of that song. Yet, I will say, at all the shows I've been to, I've loved the shit out of Rock and Roll All Night and a lot of the songs, and it's not just because, these are the final shows. Well, maybe it is, and suddenly there's a poignancy to listening to each of those songs, especially when Rock and Roll All Night is the last song in the set that night. All of a sudden, you're like, clapping along, going crazy.
Hey, one more time, yeah.
Doing a stagger dance like I'm having a seizure. So, all right. I think I managed to add all of these up correctly for the purposes of this panel. So, let's go song by song. The KissFAQ panel from least favorite to favorite for Dress to Kill. In bottom place, substantially in the lowest place with 11 points, Two Timer is our least favorite song on this album, and it's just turgid to me. I'm not shocked in the slightest. It's, Gene, we need a song, and it's not even, he couldn't even be bothered to go to his pile of notebooks. He's like, just, okay, we're going to do this. and just came up with just something very lacking. Quick comments on Two Timer, Mark?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, it's definitely his weakest song on the record, and probably, just the weakest song overall on the album. I have to agree. I never thought it was strong. I was surprised actually it was so high up on the, being a side A song,
Yeah, Ken, now you ranked this the highest out of all of us, so...
what, at 7?
Yeah.
That's really high. Well, I don't know. I thought the songs are good. I like it. Well, I like the verses. I think the verses are good. It's a problem when it kicks into the chorus. It's not a good chorus. I think it's a great lead-in with, great lead into it, but the chorus just kind of fails. And it kind of, repetitive and just like, okay, it doesn't really go anywhere. So that's the real problem with that song. Otherwise, it's okay, for me. That's why it's 7.
All right, Lonnie, final words on Two Timer.
It's not a great song, and I can remember. I was just thinking about this as we were talking about it, and just memories of that song. I was in college, and I was driving 2 girls back to campus or something, and I had this song on. It's not what you think, driving 2 girls back to campus. But I had this song on in the car for whatever reason, and one of them was like, "What are we listening to? This is terrible." And I'm like, "Oh no, this is good." And they're like, "No, this is awful." I was very disappointed. It was like, "Oh no," I'm like, "No, this is terrible."
You should have switched over to Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. They probably would have enjoyed that a lot more.
They probably would have enjoyed a lot more than Kiss from 1975.
I thought the story was going to go that they might have given you an odd glance.
He thought it was going to go.
I thought they were going to give you an odd glance that you were hinting at something with that song,
No, it's not dating either one of them. The story is not going anywhere.
All right. In 9th place, on 14 points, Anything for My Baby. And That's a little bit surprising, actually, since it's so poppy, and it's really not that much different than, some of the more up-tempo stuff on that album. But I have just never... to me, it's the same thing as Two-Timer, except Paul wrote it. It's just a throwaway, quick song that's underdeveloped and lacks any kind of nuance or seasoning. So, Star Child, yeah, you pulled out a good, catchy song, but it doesn't really do anything. It's just like having water thrown on you instead of champagne. Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad song. I think the thing that initially kind of threw me off on it was that the drum beat at the top of it reminded me of Rock and Roll Night. It kind of started with that saying do do do, and I was like, wait a minute, what is that? I thought that was later on, and then all of a sudden they started doing their singing, and I was like, oh wait a minute, this is a totally different song, but it was the same drum beat. So, yeah, it's not. Let's put it this way: Paul rarely writes real terrible songs, so I can't put that in that bracket. But it's definitely not his strongest. I mean, this is total garbage compared to "Come On and Love Me," right? But it's just, let's just put it this way: it's just his weakest song probably that he wrote for this record. So, and a weak Paul Stanley song a lot of the times could be better than most people's decent songs, I guess.
All right, Lonnie, you ranked this the highest out of all of us, so talk us down here.
I like it. It's catchy. It has a good groove to it. It's, like the first verse is, "I'm in love and it feels so good because I need her." That's all. I think that's awesome. I think the lyric. I think it's great. I think all three of you are crazy. Personally, I can't believe it's the second song we're talking about as far as worst to best. So I mean, I had it ranked number 2. I mean, second best song on the album. So I'm shocked. I guess if I wouldn't have ranked it so high, it would have been either last or second to last. If I wouldn't have ranked it so high, I ruined the curve on this song. So,
Ken, make him feel better. Say something nice about it.
The thing is,
even if you ranked it your least favorite.
No,
it's skewed because Ken and I both had this very, very, very low down.
Right. I ruined the curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the deal is, I do like, it's okay. Certain parts of the song I like, and what I don't like is, and it doesn't happen that often in songs where they start off the song with the chorus, because that's how the song starts. Is the chorus starts, and that usually doesn't happen in songs. So they start off with the chorus, and then it goes da 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 da. I would have rather them do that. Get the chorus out of the way and just started da-da-da-da-da-da, and then kick in to the verses. But I think the verses are fantastic. Mm-hmm. I just love the verses. But again, it's similar to that Gene Simmons song where the chorus is like, it doesn't do a lot. And it really doesn't go anywhere. So that's why I ranked it down.
All right, well...
I don't know if that made him feel any better.
No. Not the slightest.
It's like when someone comes up to you, "I love that song," and someone turns around. It's like being on the message board sometimes. I really like that. And everyone turns around. It sucks.
Wrong.
All right. So next we have a tie for 2 songs. "Getaway" and "Ladies in Waiting." Yeah. "Ladies in Waiting" I hate with a passion. I'm not a fan. That was my least favorite on the album, obviously. And I go to the market and the meat looks good tonight.
You couldn't have that's a perfect Kiss lyric though. You couldn't have a better Gene lyric.
That's a total Gene lyric.
A total Gene lyric. I mean, it's like signature Gene lyric almost.
Well, yeah,
That's right up there.
Meet you in the ladies' room. I mean,
that's right up there with "Put My Log in Your Fireplace." I mean, that is right up there with it.
No, right. You've got that backwards. It's right down there with.
We know where Julian's going to rank "Burn Bitch Burn" when we do the Animalize episode.
Don't tempt me.
Shakespearean Gene.
Of course, that means I have to listen to that album, which isn't really... Yeah, it's just not very good. Let's talk about "Getaway," which is...
Okay. We'll just skip it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Ken, say something nice about these songs which are at the bottom of our list.
Well, which one? Oh, Ladies in Waiting. Well, Ladies in Waiting, again, it's the same thing. I think a lot of the songs around this time period, or in the rushed, or in between tours on the third album, it seemed to write good verses, and then some of them, the choruses are just, 3 words repeating or something like that. And you think, for my baby, and Ladies in Waiting, and or two-timer. I mean, it's a lot of, at that time, and in a rush, the choruses, let's just repeat the words, just repeat it over and over, type thing. So that's the drawback there, with not having enough time to, I think out the full song and come up with something better for the chorus. So that's what I think about that. Getaway, actually, it ranks, I put it at 8. I actually like it probably better than that, but that's where it ended up. No particular reason. I think it's a good Ace song, and I think Peter Criss does a fantastic job singing on it.
Yeah, that was going to be one of the positives that I mentioned. Peter's vocal's fantastic, and it's actually got a good rhythm to it. Lonnie, you love Anything for My Baby, and we're offended by that, but yet this is your least favorite song on the album.
We're offended.
What can I say? It doesn't do a whole lot for me.
They're really kind of the same song, just with
no, they're
all
not.
singing one.
What are you talking about? Not the same song at all. Not even close. But I don't know. It just doesn't do much for me.
Do you hate Peter Criss or something? I mean,
no, I don't hate Peter Criss. That's my lines. Steal my lines. No, I don't hate Peter Criss, and I think it doesn't do a whole lot for me. If we want to, there's other Peter Criss songs I would rank really high for other albums, but it.
So the issue is you. In other
words,
words,
what can you say? Sometimes in life, either a song just doesn't do it for you. Maybe somebody says, well, it's look at her, look at that girl. You know what? She just doesn't do it for me for whatever reason, and your friends might look at you like you're crazy. But for whatever reason, it just doesn't work for me.
Now, do you want to defend yourself about Ladies in Waiting while we're at it, or should we go to Mark?
No, where did I put Ladies in Waiting? I put that number 2, second to last. I don't have to defend myself.
You put them in the ladies' room.
You don't like it either.
Right, but this isn't about me. We're talking about you.
You're on the hot seat right now, not me.
All right, Lonnie's had a hot take there. So.
Doesn't do anything for me either.
All right, Mark, did you get to have your piece on this?
Well, I mean, I ranked them like 4 and 5, so I had them pretty high up on my list. Ladies in Waiting, I kind of think is kind of the quintessential Gene song. I mean, the lyrics are total Gene. You can't get that mixed up and say, oh, maybe that's a Paul song. It's definitely a Gene lyric. And I think one of the things I'm kind of subconsciously in the back of my mind helped make this go up higher is that I liked the live version that they did on the live videotape that I have. Like, the 3 nights that they did in Detroit, one of the nights they played that song. And I thought that it was really cool. It was much heavier, obviously, than the album version when they did it that way. But one thing that we're kind of talking about that needs to be addressed is how Ken said that, the choruses are weak and that there's 3 words repeated over and over again. That's definitely true. And I think the main problem with that is the fact that they got yanked back in to do a record very quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think they even said in one of the biographies that they had to write it so quickly. It was like, go into the studio, this morning we were working on this song. The next day, okay, we're working on this song. I just wrote it this morning again. Like, everything was written so quickly, they didn't really have any attention to detail. And they couldn't, because they had to write everything within like a week or something like that, or less time to get it out there to go back on the road again. So, I kind of forgive them for that, and I can maybe understand why some of the choruses are not exactly, Neil Peart in quality of the choruses, right? So, but overall, I like these songs. I mean, I think Getaway is pretty catchy. It's a very Ace-ish like guitar licks. And Peter Criss, I think, sings it fantastic. I love his voice in that song. And I even thought it was very cool when they played it one time on the cruise there when Eric Singer did it. I thought it was really cool then, even when they played it and they brought it out again. So I always think it's been kind of one of those, lost B-side gems that they should maybe pull out every once in a blue moon and play live.
Yeah, it's easy to forget how fast they put these songs together and how good they actually are, and I totally agree. I like your point that you made about the Detroit 76 videos where they do play it live, and it's Ladies in Waiting is a better song live. I don't think it's the quintessential. I disagree with it being the quintessential Gene song, because I just don't see him doing his blood spitting bit while Ladies in Waiting. Just doesn't seem to be one of those things that would work very well. But all right, let's move on before I get in any more trouble here. So just trying to make sure I haven't screwed up anything with my math. All right, we've got oh no, this one's not a tie. In, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6th place on 20 points, She. First guitar riffs I ever tried to play this song. I actually do like it, but I rated it low because it's just kind of all this up-tempo stuff, and then you get She, which is a real dynamic change, and it's just kind of clunky and kludgy and with fantastic freaking guitar work. Some of the very best of Ace. That is just, that's a standout of guitars on this album for me within She. But the song itself, I just find a bit monotonous, and maybe it's just because I've tired of it over the years. Obviously, it must have meant something to me to be the first song I tried to learn on guitar, other than maybe I thought that it was easy. But there we go. Ken, She.
Yeah, She was that number 3 for me on my list, actually. I like the song. I mean, I don't think I cared for it too much when I first heard it, but then it grew on me a lot. I think part of it's more of the playing on that song, like you said, the guitar solo and so on, and it's one of the few that kind of telling a story, I guess, more so than some of the other songs. I always liked it. I just think it's a great song, and again, it's even better. Once it's on a live, it's better. It's another live song that's comes to life on a live. So I have nothing to say bad about it. I think it's just one of their classics as far as I'm concerned.
Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Ken. I think that it's one of those songs that stands out very tall on a live, and I always thought that was where it really shone the best. But on the album, the reason why I put it so low on mine is because it is very much like a slow moving 4x4 truck through mud. It just really, really slow. And we have so many upbeat songs and quick songs, like 2-minute songs, and this is the only one that's probably of the 4-minute length, and probably the only one that's at this slow a tempo. So it is kind of like a shock to the system. You have all these kind of upbeat songs, and you're rocking through the whole record, and all of a sudden this one comes, and it's like, somebody hit the brakes all of a sudden. And I think that if it was done at the tempo that they did it on a live, it would have been better, I think. But I think it's just one of those songs that just works better in a live capacity than on studio.
Yeah, and when you get to watch the guy actually doing the guitar work and the interaction, because it's a very band kind of unified performance. Everyone's really flailing away. Peter's going, doing his thing. Paul's working hard on the rhythm. I mean, the rhythm guitar in this is critical to laying a bed that Ace can fly over. And Gene's bass is just very understated and important and, critical foundation to it. Yeah. So, Lonnie, what are your thoughts on She?
No, it's great. It's a signature Kiss song. And, I am in agreement with you guys where as much as I like it on the album, it sounds much better on a live. But it is, I don't have many bad things to say. I don't have anything bad to say about it because it is, it's one of those staple core songs going from the beginning, even back to the Wicked Lester days, like Mark referenced earlier. So, nothing, only positive things to say about it. I was lucky enough to see him play it a few times, so it was definitely a standout the times I got to see him play that. So, and I'm very happy I was able to.
One of these days, I'm going to have to do a list of every song I've seen them perform live.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of interesting to figure out. Okay, we've got another tie now on 23 points. Rock Bottom and Room Service. So, Room Service, obviously the opener. To me, it's like caffeinated Jack Russell. It's too fucking happy. It's like slap. Not that I'm suggesting I beat Jack Russell's. I still rank it high, though. I like it. It's a great way to start an album. It's the sort of energy that you want to hit an album with on track one, side one, track one. So for all that happy, crappy energy, it's just a really fun one that you can't help, at least I can't help, start bopping my head to. So, Lonnie, Rock Bottom.
Great song, great way to open the album. Like I said, when we did our rearrangements of the album, I didn't have it on there as opener just because for the sake of rearranging it. But like I said before we did that, I'm Dress to Kill is Dress to Kill, and that's the track order on Dress to Kill, and it is a great way to open the album. Very poppy, very upbeat, hooks you in right away. Great song.
Yeah,
did you say Rock Bottom?
I did. They're both together, obviously.
I thought I was
Room Service.
We were talking about Room Service.
You're talking about Room Service.
Yes.
I was talking.
Yeah, that's similar worded songs in the same.
I knew what he meant.
Yeah, thank God someone does. Mark, Room Service.
Well, I ranked it my favorite song. I've always loved it. I loved the upbeat energy of it. I like the kind of juvenile-ish Paul Stanley lyrics in this. I think it's everything that an opening song is supposed to be. And I think that's why I like it so much. And how Ken kind of mentioned that he maybe put it lower in his ranking because he kind of got burnt out on it. This is one of the songs from the record that I just don't get burnt out at all. I think that to me is a sign of a good song, that I can listen to this, numerous times and not get burnt out on it. And, I just think that it's a well-written Paul Stanley opener. Has he had better opening songs? Yes, I'm sure there are many we can point out. But at this point in the career of Kiss, I think it's a standout opening song.
Yeah. Okay, Ken. So you had this number 9. Mark had this number 1. So why do you hate Jack Russell's and Paul Stanley?
What?
Wow.
Room Service. So I don't hate it. Again, I said before that it was just. I guess I get tired of it as the lead song of the album. It's a frenetic song. It's a fast pace, which is cool. But that's why I thought that it would lead side 2 of the album there as a good start off for the side 2. I know we're talking in their CDs now, and it wouldn't fall that way anymore. But I still think in terms of LPs when I think of these lists. So yeah, it's a fine song. There's really nothing wrong with it. I was just a little tired of it.
Yeah, and that's I guess why all of us as Kiss fans, we call it least favorite on this album, not most hated. It's not least hated to most hated. It's least favorite to most favorite. So
yeah.
All right, Rock Bottom, which of course is tied. I actually rated this the highest, and I just adore Ace's guitar intro. And make sure I'm talking about the right song. That is just one of the most out-of-place kind of pieces of music on any Kiss album, apart from maybe Fanfare on The Elder. To have this beautiful 12-string guitar work, just very intricate, great line, and then it goes into a really strong Paul Stanley song. And I think Paul Stanley, these for me were 4 and 5 in order. Because of that, Room Service isn't quite as strong lyrically as the proper part of Rock Bottom is, and it's just great execution, great vocal, great everything throughout the song. Mark, Rock Bottom.
Yeah, I didn't have it too low. I had it at like 7. But I like the intro part as well. I mean, I remember when I started getting into Kiss heavily, that was one of the things I one day decided to grab my acoustic guitar and start working out how to play. And I think, in fact, if memory serves me correctly, one of my bands that I was in the early 2000s, we actually played this song, intro and all, when we used to play gigs. And it got quite the ovation for that, actually, which was interesting because that time period, you know, it was still the ending of grunge kind of period and stuff like that. So I didn't expect Kiss to go over that great. But anyways, it's not a bad song. It is actually a very interesting combination of pieces. You know, you have like an Ace acoustic piece that's really well thought out and, you know, played. And then you have a kind of straight ahead Paul Stanley rocker tune connected to it. But I think they work well together. They sound good, and I think that it's a good upbeat song. But I mean, compared to other songs that Paul's done on this record, it just doesn't pull up as high in my ratings as some of the other ones does. So I mean, you know, it's just like anything. There's got to be always a first place, and there's always got to be a 7th place. So it's not that one's bad or terrible. It's just that, you know, I like one better, or I think one is stronger than the other. Or
at least you did today, because all of this could be different if we had this conversation. Ken, how about you for Rock Bottom?
Yeah, the Ace lead in is just fantastic. I don't get tired of that. And it just works. For some reason, it works when it's over, it stops, and it kicks into Rock Bottom. I don't know what it is, but it worked. It's like when we heard it on, for instance, Lonnie was talking about double platinum, where it led into what She, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't work. It really didn't work at all. But somehow it works really well. And you know, I had double platinum first, and then heard it on Dress to Kill after, and Dress to Kill it made more sense that way. So I was like, what the hell were they thinking on double platinum? But anyway, it's just a great song. I think it's one of Paul Stanley's great, you know, well-written songs that he's done on the early albums. So I always love listening to that one.
Yeah, I always kind of go, now it gets rough, you know.
Yes, exactly.
or whatever Paul says in MTV Unplugged.
Yeah.
That's just embedded in my head that there should be he should be saying something in between that. Great transition. Perfect. Okay, so in 3rd place, on 30 points, Love Her All I Can. I said everything I need to say about this song. I love playing. I get the guitar. Well, I'd have to get it out of my closet, the guitar with the right tuning to play this one. But I love playing this. And it's one of the few songs. I mean, I have great difficulty playing and singing at the same time, but you just kind of lose yourself in this. It's just pop perfection, which surprises me because I usually hate pop. Ken, what about Love Her All I Can for you?
Yeah, like you say, it's a poppy type, catchy song, and it just really works. It's well written song, surprisingly, in the short period of time that they had. So. And again, this one's kind of, it tells a little bit of a story, but it's just a good, well-written, cool Paul song. I don't know. I like it. That's another one I don't get tired of. Any day I'll listen to that. I'll enjoy it when it comes on.
Yep, agreed. Lonnie.
You know, it's a great song, and I was really excited when they started doing it on 04 during the Rock the Nation tour, and I was really, really hoping I'd get to hear that when they came, and I didn't, but I still went out and bought the instant lives of when they did, so I could have a good version of that song. And that was a totally separate topic, but it was fun going out and collecting those and make sure you got the ones really. It was expensive, but it was good to get those songs that you buy in different concerts so you can get one song. But I was hoping they'd play it here. They did not. But I was just glad they were playing stuff like that at the time and giving that song some of the recognition that it deserves, because it is, to echo what Julian and Ken said, it's great. And it's a song that if it comes on when I have just Kiss on like a shuffle on my phone or something, I'm at home, it's one that I never ever skip because I'm always glad to hear it. So it's great. So nothing bad to say at all.
I think the girls you were driving would have preferred it to Two Timers.
Probably. They probably prefer much of anything I had on.
Mark, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I like the song quite a lot too. I think the thing that instantly hooked me on this was the harmonized vocals in the verses. I thought that was really well done. I think that usually Paul has a tendency of just kind of being alone singing his stuff, like without anybody else kind of backing him. But this is like a very strong, like almost 3-part harmony going on in that verse. I think it's really well done. And the guitar chords at the very top are pretty interesting too. Off the top, it's not just your basic kind of 3-chord thing. He has like a little bit more of a kind of interesting inversions going on there, and I like it. I think it's a great song. It's catchy. It still has enough power to it to not be lame sounding, and I think they did a great job with it. It's another one of those songs where, like Lonnie said, they played it in 2004. It would be great if they would pull it out, sometime even now. Like, I think it's a good song that could be played in any set list. It's a great song, and why not represent it in its 50th anniversary time? I think it's really good. But like, again, the thing that really made it stand out for me was those vocals, and they're great stuff.
Yeah, they could easily drop it into the set in place of one of Paul's raps. All right. We're into our top 2.
Mm-hmm.
So no one's surprised by the top 2 if you've been keeping track, so I'll just run down the rest of the order. From least favorite to most favorite: Two-Timer, Anything for My Baby, Ladies in Waiting, Getaway She, Room Service, Rock Bottom, Lover All I Can, and in number 2, Rock and Roll All Night. And I don't think that's surprising. It's a great song. It's come on, core to the Kiss catalog. I don't think too many people are going to hate it. But no surprise that it's in second place. Ken?
Yeah.
It's Ken's favorite song.
It's the favorite song on this album. Yeah. That's not my favorite all-time Kiss song. No. But it's the favorite song on this album. I just think it's great. Yes. I even, I'm tired of hearing it to a degree. But I just have to give it props for being a well-written song that somehow came together from 2 different songs that Gene had and Paul. Paul had this rock, I Want to Rock and Roll All Night part, catchy part, chorus written out, and Gene had a great verse that just fit with it, that transitioned into the melody. So it's just amazing that a song like that can be piecemealed and turn out so great into an anthem. It's just surprising. But I love the song, great song, and it's going to be, the rock and roll national anthem, like Paul says. It kind of is.
Yep. Mark.
Yeah, I mean, when we just look at it from a different angle, if we were somebody who just started getting into Kiss now and heard this for the first time, I'm sure our opinion would be vastly different, in the sense that it might be the greatest song you've heard ever, but like we've heard it, hundreds of thousands of times now as Kiss fans. So yeah, of course we're going to be kind of burnt out on it and think of 100 other songs that are better. But I had it pretty high in my ranking too. I had it number 3. So I kind of acknowledge the fact that it is a well-written song. It was a song that did great things for the band. It kind of, helped get them on the map a bit more than they had prior to that. So it had to be decent enough to do that, right? I understand there was obviously some payola involved, but that's besides the point. But, I still think it's a great song. They play it every single show, so that's got to tell you something right there. I mean, as much as they're probably burnt out on playing it, think about it. They're going on tours and playing, 200 shows a year, and they have to play the song every single night. So if anybody's burnt out on it, it's them, right? But it's a great song, and people want to sing along with it when they're in concerts. So that just right there says everything you need to know. If you have 20,000 or 50,000 or 10,000 people always singing along with it, it's a great song.
Absolutely. Lonnie?
It's a signature, not only a Kiss song, but it's a signature song, period. And it's a song that people are going to be playing long after they're gone. It's a song that has stood and will stand the test of time for many, many years to come. So, to echo what you guys said, it's a well-written song. It's, what they did is piece it together, and, out comes, to steal a line from Gene, the cream rises to the top, and it's fantastic. It's a great song. I mean, there's no mystery as to why it, propelled them from a band that was struggling to a band that had made it through the version that's on Alive. So it's, as much as we may be tired of hearing it, it's very easy to sing its praises as well. And it's very easy to see why that song propelled them from one level to another. And it's just, it stood the test of time, and it will continue to.
Yeah. And I got to say one last thing too. This is one of the rare instances of where Peter Criss contributed something that, like you said, will be forever remembered for generations to come. That drum beat that he does at the very top. I mean, I played in this band, like I was saying before, and we did this tour of Canada, and just as a little joke thing in the encore, we would always start our encore with that drum beat, and people would always just right away, get up, because they know what that.
They know what it is.
They know what that is.
Yeah.
And that one, and there's only one other song that ever got a reaction like that we did when we just played the drum beat, is We're Not Gonna Take It. That drum beat at the beginning of We're Not Gonna Take It is another example of a song where you can know right away, as soon as you hear that drum beat, what's coming up. So hats off to Peter Criss for coming up with something that's simple but catchy enough that everybody knows right away.
And the other thing that Lonnie was talking about is stood the test of time. You hear it now more on the radio than it ever was played when it first was released as a single. I mean, or even back in the 70s at all. I mean, it became a lot more popular later on, and it plays now, which is remarkable.
Yeah, like sporting events, and like everywhere you go,
you hear it.
You can't help but hear it. I mean, it's like songs like that, and like Welcome to the Jungle, like things like that that they play at sporting events. I mean, everywhere you go, I mean, that song is played. It's just part of American culture, North American culture. Sorry, Mark. And it's just embedded in us, and it will continue to be. It's like, it's not fair to make comparisons to the Beatles, but I mean, it's, in a sense, it's like a Beatlesque song where it will continue on well past that.
Wow, that's beautiful, man.
Thank you.
That's like the mic drop of the episode.
It will though.
I'm not mocking you.
Thank you. At least someone doesn't.
Yes. All right, so we've arrived at the this KissFAQ panel's favorite song from Dress to Kill. Drum roll. Steve, where are you? I need a drop here. Come On and Love Me. No surprise whatsoever. If I was to be forced to name my top 5 Kiss songs on the spot, that would be one of them, along with Deuce. The other 3, oh God, I'd have to think fast. But Come On and Love Me. Just utter perfection. I just can't believe. I'd just love to know from Paul about the writing of that song, a bit more than what's been written, because it's just a stunning song. It's the one song on the album that's like perfectly crafted. I can't fault it in any way. So I'm glad it's number 1, rightfully so. Even if I had Love Her All I Can as my favorite, it's come on, to toss it between that and Come On and Love Me. those two songs, to me represent everything that's great about this album. Ken, what about you?
Great song. It's I don't know if it's in my top 5, but it's pretty high. It's great how he wrote it. It's so different than a lot of what else he's written. It'd be interesting to know what he was going for. Like you said, ask Paul how he wrote it, what the inspiration was, maybe musically from his bands that he listened to, because it doesn't sound like, to me, it doesn't sound like any other copy of another band or anything. So it's really interesting, and this one, it's just a lot of great verses, and it just ends with come on and love me. I mean, it's as simple as that, and it works. It just works. So great, another great Kiss song.
Hi, Mark. Is that Jackie?
Yeah, Jackie's trying to pop her head up here.
How's she doing?
Good. She's
pretty much back to normal.
Yeah, very energetic, running around, chasing squirrels. And last night I almost got into a bit of trouble with her again because she chased a raccoon in our backyard. So I had to stop her from getting into there. So.
All right. So while we're talking about love, Come On and Love Me.
Yeah. So Come On and Love Me obviously is, Paul Stanley's, stellar grade A written song for this record. I mean, I think that he really hit the ball out of the park on this one. I mean, everything about it is strong. The verse, the chorus, the intro, even his little guitar solo that he plays at the top of the song is really well done, I mean, you can't imagine it played any other way or any differently than the way it is on this record. And, there's nothing wrong with this song in any sense. I mean, if they were trying to write a song that was geared toward radio, I think that they, nailed it pretty much with this song. I really enjoyed it. And I mean, I was talking once with a friend of mine where we said, the best way to make a great, best of record would be to take songs off of each record, like your 2 favorite songs, and put them on there, the 2 best off of each record. And this would be definitely one of them off of this record. I think it's probably one of the best standout songs on Dress to Kill.
Great. It's perfect. Lonnie, now you ranked this the highest out of all of us because you ranked it your favorite song off the album. The rest of us had it as our second favorite. So that's why it wins substantially, because consistent high rankings. Why is it not only your favorite song, but what makes it such a great song?
It's and I said it when I ranked the songs, that if I had to pick my top 5 Kiss songs, it would be in there every single time, no matter when you ask me. It would always be in my top 5 Kiss songs. It's so damn catchy, and the lyrics and the verses are so great. I mean, she's a dancer, a romancer. I'm a Capricorn. She's a Cancer. She saw my picture in a music magazine. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, you couldn't write a song. And Paul said in an interview I read maybe about a year or so ago, 2 years ago, that he goes, I couldn't write a song like that again if you put a gun to my head. Yeah. I mean, it's that freaking good that, sometimes the magic just comes naturally, and you just couldn't do it again if you tried, because it's so darn good. And I said it when I saw him a couple weeks ago. I was like, man, it's too bad they couldn't squeeze that into the set somehow. I mean, you guys played the game a couple weeks ago of take 5 songs out, put 5 songs in. If I could put one song in, it would be this every time. And I know I'm always come on here that I'm the revenge guy, this and that. If I could have one song squeezed into the set list, it would be Come On and Love Me. I would love to hear that one more time. I've gotten to hear him play it a few times. I remember we were in my brother and I saw him in Sault Ste. Marie back in 2007 on that Hit and Run tour. And it was really cool because it was, of the 3 or 4 shows that they played on that Hit and Run tour, that Sault Ste. Marie was the first night. So we had no idea what they were going to play. You know, we knew they were going to play All American Man because of that poll that they did on Kiss Online. But we had no idea what they were going to play. And at one, you know, in between songs, and my brother and I are like, okay, what are they going to do? And Paul goes, this one's called Come On and Love Me. And my brother and I like, fuck, we just high-fived each other. It was so awesome. You know, it's like moments like that you don't forget. So, because he feels the same way about the song that I do. It's just amazing. And again, my top Kiss songs of all time. Lyrically, musically, it's just a masterpiece.
You know, Lonnie, you should have played this song when you were driving those two girls.
You know what? This is advice I could have used from both of you about 20 years ago.
All right, did we get everyone's thoughts on that one? I lost track.
I think so.
I think that's a good place to end it. I've got a bunch of other questions that, you know, let's save all that because we can always do another episode about Dress to Kill and do all the stuff that we haven't talked about with this album. But for everyone who's, you know, made it this far to discover what our favorite song is off the album, you know, what would be your ranking? You know, what is your favorite and least favorite song off this album? You know, what are the songs that you think should have been a single? And, you know, for any of the other questions that we've kind of asked about it, what do you think about our picks? I mean, who got it completely wrong as far as you're concerned and who got it completely right? You know, but I guess we'll leave that there for now. And for now, from Mark, from Ken, from Lonnie and myself, thank you for listening, and we shall see you next time. Bye. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.